You're locked into Super TV. Only on OpenView, channel 150.
Oh, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. This is the week that was with the Daily Sun. Myself, my name is Mo, and I'm joined by not Ms Mananyeto this time. This time we have Mapula Nkosi joining us. She's the editor-in-chief from the Daily Sun. And now she's basically at this point, Mapula, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mukhumutsi, and thanks for welcoming me into the show.
All right, Mapula, can you tell us more about who you are, how you got to be the editor-in-chief at the Daily Sun?
I've been in this position since June 2019. It's fun, but it's very rewarding because of the stories that we deal with, the human interest stories, and we usually help out people quite a lot. I've been a journalist for about over 2 decades now.
Yeah.
Started off at Mail and Guardian, went to City Press, which is another part of Media 24 that owns Daily Sun. Ventured a bit into magazines, and now I'm back on the Daily Sun desk chasing daily deadlines, chasing tokoloshis as well with high heels on.
Chasing tokoloshis as well. Also, Mapula, welcome to the show. Usually what we then do is we take you through all these stories that were highlights from the week, and then you give us some of your thoughts on those stories. So the first story to make our desk today, I always want to say that, as a journalist. So the first story to make our desk today is Chico bashes Arthur. Can you tell us more about what happened in that story?
I was quite happy to see Chico engaging himself in artist conversations because we all know for many reasons he had taken a bit of an exile. The stories about what artists are currently fighting for. You've seen that for the past, I think it's a month now. We've had artists that are protesting at the National Arts Council.
Yes.
So it's over the 300 million relief fund that the National Arts Council is supposed to distribute to artists. So Chico is basically calling Arthur out to say, you are rich enough not to apply for this. There are too many of our brothers and sisters that actually need this money more. And I think it's a valid conversation. I don't know from you, Mukhumutsi, do you think Arthur doesn't deserve a grant?
Let me compose myself, because how I felt about this whole relief fund in the first place was that it was very needed, especially for a lot of artists that are not in the mainstream, that don't get the bookings, that don't get the royalties for what they do. And what Arthur did also is a slap on the face of all those artists, because I read there in the article, someone did say that because of his name and the weight that that name has, I apply, I was definitely going to get the monies, which he did. Now, a lot of artists are hungry, I want the bookings, they're not famous enough to get royalties, no one's listening to their music, maybe your friend has a music, but it's pirated also. So I understand where Chico Tola was coming from with this one. So I'm also a bit disappointed by the act.
Yeah. And you're right. So Chico is saying that it's against the spirit of Ubuntu, where we should know that the spirit of Ubuntu is about sharing what we've got. So if you already have a kraal full of cattle, why take more when you know that there are many other artists that are actually suffering? And he's also even saying that he's highly critical, saying that it's unethical of Arthur, looking at the relationship of Arthur that is, he's very close to power. We know he's close to ANC power. You know, the ANC bashes and protests when COVID doesn't have the restrictions. They don't end until Arthur or Chomi sings and dances to the dignitaries. So we know that they've got that familiarity where people do feel that within that familiarity, if you're Arthur and you're applying, your application is most likely, obviously, to get favor. Like you say, many artists, important artists. I mean, it's for me, it's heartbreaking to see artists that we view as national treasures. I think Sibongile Mgoma, the highly acclaimed, opera singer and songstress, is actually leading the charge at the offices. So it's quite sad to see artists that have to be reduced to actually camping at the National Arts Council so that they can ask where is the money. They're asking other things as well, Mukhumutsi. Where is the list? Let us look at the list. who received what? Those are the questions that do need to be asked. And when it's got to do here in Mzansi with things about audit, we've been disappointed before. That's when you actually realize that there could be something that cannot be explained or something that is amiss. The National Arts Council was a bit quiet. They had stock answers. Dr. Sipho is there, Dr. Sipho Stole. So he said we should wait until Wednesday. By Wednesday, I think the minister issued a brief statement to say he noted the grievances and some of the concerns that artists have pointed out, who received what. Those are, a lot of them are allegations. So he actually announced that they will now investigate if there is any sort of misappropriation of funds. Now, for me in Mzansi, that's another sad part, in that we end up using the money that is meant for development or meant for relief. That money now is going to be spent, wiping all the rot that might be found there. So it's an incredible story. Your viewers should look out for more follow-ups from us.
All right, so now let's move on to the next story, because that one, if we start with it, we won't finish today. This one, the headline reads, "Tekoloshi eats my chickens." Now, the Kuko Zawato, how did they fall victim to all of this?
Hey, I think it's Ngobeni, if I recall, and I think I'm from Pretoria, so some of the fascinating stories also tend to come from Pretoria, part of my hood. The Tokoloshi comes and becomes a husband, and not only that, after that, the Tokoloshi basically, satisfy another sort of need.
Of course.
And with the chickens, and she's trying to also have a small sort of chicken business. So, and her recollection is quite vivid and scary. It's like a horror movie where she says that this occurrences started like a month ago, and they're getting more repeat. They repeat themselves more often. But she's got very good neighbors. There's a neighbor that I felt that in these days and times, when something is amiss at night, you hear screams, people lock their doors. So we're able to speak to a neighbor that actually said that on one of the bizarre occurrences, he actually opened his door for Me Anangobeni. So it's one of those stories that we say are in the Sun Power mode, where Me Ngobeni is looking for somebody that might contact her and actually maybe cleanse her and sort out her problem.
Because even the way she accounts the story, I mean, she can tell you exactly how it started. She says it started with a big bang on a roof. Then next thing, every time when this thing comes up, the roof, like the screeching on the shack walls, and then the chickens start to scream. Yes.
The recollection, honestly, it puts fear in you definitely.
Chills your spine also.
Recollection, So it's hopefully somebody will reach out to her. People in the spiritual realm, and somebody might know how to cleanse her of experiences.
All right, so now let's move on to the next story. This one, for me personally, when I read it 3 times because I was not quite sure that all these facts could be true. She says, so she's a Sangoma, ne? She's dating a police officer. She's dating a male police officer. Exactly, she's dating a male police officer, and this male police officer is dating another male police officer.
Yes.
And then because I read it online, I saw the screenshots from what this guy was saying to her, all the threads. Can you tell us more about the story?
With a lot of evidence, as you can see, supporting her story. It's an incredible story because the cop is quite brazen. It's issues of power here, and issues, I think, of the trust that we have in police. And the rotten police know that they can get away with a lot of things, including murder, because this policeman, you've seen some of the screenshots, he does threaten to kill her. Very disturbing. He is seeming to be stalking her. So he would, obviously, in one of the screenshots, he says, "I see you're in your house, you're wearing a brown dress or a red dress." So you can imagine, you can imagine being freaked out by when you get an SMS, the person that has been calling you with threatening phone calls, and then they basically tell you that they're watching you. So the policeman is watching her. You've seen we were quite careful not to out the policeman. But I wanted to find out when you read the story, what did you think the lover is protecting her, or did you think that the lover himself is curiously quiet? Because we tried to get a response out of him, but I'll tell you what I think. I just want to find out. I felt that he might be out there actually setting the record straight himself. But what did you think of the lover's silence?
I feel like also with the silence, I'm quite scared for the lady. I mean, first of all, this person, there's a message where he says, I see what you're wearing. And he also says, your parents just left. I know you're home alone.
Yes.
He goes as far as telling her that you didn't even take the kids to school today. So for me, if you're the lover in this situation, why are you not coming in to intervene? I mean, both these people claim to be your lovers. So why don't you come in between them and say, Bafet, let's respect each other, because now there's death threats. There's even a case where she tried to go open a case of intimidation against him. And then he still tells her, I'm not dropping the charges. On top of that, he tells her that I can see you in the police station. It's for me, I did see that the lover kept quiet. And in my regard, I had so many theories about it, because when you read a story like this, you might think that, he might be the one behind all these texts, because even when they call the number that's texting her, you don't find anyone on the other side. So there's so many theories that I came up with, and I thought to myself at the end of the day, if Radamoto, you would never let them get threatened like this.
Yes, no, that's what we thought. We tried to get him to speak. So we eventually had to get his voice through her to say, obviously, you would have told your lover that your ex is making my life miserable.
Yeah.
And what we've got, I was also not happy with. But what is concerning is that he's threatening her child. And that just talks to somebody that might be unstable or drunk in power, or somebody that knows that I can get away with something if I do it, which sadly talks to that element where there are many pockets in our policing system where policemen basically, rule people around them with a gun, knowing that nothing will happen to them. But I think publishing this story would have highlighted this woman's, problem. And I'm hoping that it actually works at protecting and making sure that this person that wants to harm her thinks twice, because they would be the immediate suspect. But it's an incredible, frightening story, honestly.
It's very frightening. I mean, I read it a few times because I couldn't just believe what the screenshots were saying. I mean, this guy texted her without, even when she's not replying, one more, like, I wonder what, like, I wonder what's up, which is totally unfair. I mean, that's not only intimidation, that's harassment on top of that. And then one of the messages, he does specify that, the station manager won't do anything, so it's something that needs to be addressed. That's why we're bringing it to you as the people to know that somewhere out there, people are being threatened like that, and there's not much they can do. But let's move on to more interesting news. So during COVID-19, a lot of things did come about. I mean, we looked at people, like on the week that was, we looked at people that went into OnlyFans, we looked at people that did other things in the Eastern Cape. So, but this guy decided, no, I'm going to make a vaccine quota.
Oh, that's a beautiful one. And another one from Pretoria. It shows the resilience of us as a people, the creativity of us as a people, especially my readers. They're highly creative. I think everybody wants to buy the quota because they want to be the ones that actually, put the juice inside that quota into a syringe.
Yes.
And it shows that you can, I think, innovate something that is simple that we know. People can still buy it as if it's fresh, because you look at his quota, it's almost like a burger. But he's got jalapeno peppers, and so it looks like a posh quota, and everybody wants to buy it, So apparently there's long queues with people wanting to do that. I was interested in the debate, actually, that the story energized. The people were asking about the vaccines that he's using. Where does he get them? People want to ask, because that's what customers should ask. So does he reuse them? So they were able to answer. It's actually not one entrepreneur, but it's two. And, innovation and revolution always comes from the youth. So I think both of them, I think, are under 25. And yes, kudos to Pretoria once again, and Swane. It's a lovely story. It makes you chuckle, and it gives you hope. It's a story of hope, that when you're faced with a difficulty, what is it that you can that you can learn, that you can, refine and innovate. So yeah, so it was a favorite, one of my favorites for the week.
Well, it was on the cover of one of the editions from the weekend. If you look at the kota itself, like she said, it looks like a burger. And the sandwich, those
Yes.
kotas these days, well, I look shapaka ka toothpick and they put like a little
Toothpick,
tomato
eh.
inside. It looks exactly like that. And the bread also looks like it was toasted ka butter because it looks yellow,
Yes.
looks golden. And then the syringe just sits
Absolutely.
on top. And then I guess
Yeah.
maybe when you start eating the kota, you press the syringe down and let the sauce get in the thing, and then you can enjoy your
Yeah.
meal. So I'm also very interested that I have to go taste it because I'm someone
Yeah.
that now oratandi kota, so I'm definitely going to go to Pretoria. But let's move on to the next one on a more sour note. As Mapula, this one is not easy to. It's not an easy read. This one. Marbuma koko balwana over ntlo ya batswadi.
Eh. And the mom died about 8 years ago. I
Yes.
think the story is Setswako Katlehong.
Yeah.
There's gogos in different age. There's a 50-year-old, 60,
Yes.
70-year-old. So it does look like the younger one is bullying the
two
bit of
older
the
ones.
older ones, because the older you get, we know the more frail you get.
Yeah.
You saw the pictures. We would have loved to do more pictures. But with space, you have to just look. So they squashed in one room. She's saying that because she was highly cooperative. Usually with those stories, those are the difficult stories when our journalists have to go out and actually convince people in a hostile environment to cooperate with them.
Yeah.
But she was highly cooperative. She just said no. You saw, we took a picture of them. They peeking from their one bedroom.
Yes.
Where they're squashed, where they've got all their bedrooms, their fridges, and their stoves, and it's not also safe. So she's saying that their fight started off when they broke some pact of buying groceries. And we know, when we share spaces, how people, when they share spaces in our communities, then
Yes.
sometimes at the end of the month, all of us have to pitch in to buy groceries. And when you don't pitch in, then the fights begin. But it looks like the core essence of the fight is over the house. And the family house in our communities, you've had people that actually kill each other over the family house. So it's really a serious matter. And you're talking also to the elderly. So we are hoping to also get social services to maybe give us a follow
Yeah.
if they were able to intervene in this case, because when we were there, she was cooperative and she looked like she's harmless to the other gogos. But what the story that they've been telling is more sinister, because I think there's a space where she says that because of what they did to her, she said somebody tried to throw boiling water at her.
Yeah.
And then somebody, they said she tried to throw boiling water at one of them, when they ventured into a space. And then she then said that, no, one of them wanted to stab me.
Yes.
So you can imagine gogos involved in such, it's not dignified. You want gogos at that age to be at a space in their lives where they're living peacefully. They're not living in a constant conflict. And for the mere fact that this has been going on for 8 years more,
Yeah.
this is a problem.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate we could not tease out how the extended family members are going to intervene. We know that one gogo has got an offspring.
Yes.
And then when we call them, I think if they maybe get into a family meeting, not the Cyril Ramaphosa type family meeting, but the family meeting with immediate consents, that maybe we might do another follow-up. I'm hoping for a follow here, especially a follow where it's about intervening to make sure that there's peace in that house.
All right, Ms Mapula, let's move on to the next story, because that one is a very heartwarming one, especially when you think of the situations where people are left with family homes and they fight over those family homes. But the next one says, shock over Chomi's millions. Ne? So I took an extract from the story itself just to cover basically what happened in the story. So people earlier on in the show were complaining about Arthur and the 350s that he was taking from the NAC. But now we're back again with Arthur again, this time with Chomi, and basically the NAC records that I believe Daily Sun is in possession of these records.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a more layered story. If you look, it's follow from the other story that we had previously, where Chico is lambasting him.
Yes.
So here we see that Arthur received a certain 1 million rand here. His company received another 2 million rand here. In total, the Arthur and other family members that do legitimately have entertainment companies have benefited to a tune of up to 10 million.
So,
That is a lot of money.
so what
And
I wanted to understand, I see the 10 million that went to Arthur and his kids and all that stuff. Now, Chomi, it says in the article that Chomi's company was being deregistered at the time when she received this 2 million rand. How is that even possible?
that's the question. That's the reason why journalists have to ask questions, and that's the reason why we ask questions. It's unfortunate that she doesn't. She's not that media friendly in answering a lot of media calls. We thought that Arthur will answer on her behalf, but Arthur also has been quiet here. So, but sources within, they've told us, sources that are very close to her, that this company was long being in a process of being deregistered. So, and then it is a legitimate question to ask that maybe at these dormant companies, how many of them did people actually just brush up quickly, just so that they could apply for these grants? And this audit that the minister is seeking to start and establish, I hope it doesn't, chow into the actual money that should go to the artists. But I think one of the questions that he needs to answer would definitely be on and around Arthur and his companies. I think you read there was a daughter that received,
a son as well,
son that also received.
His sisters apparently also received.
Yeah, the sister usually answers for Arthur's company, but this time she was also no comment. And it's frustrating to get no comment, because it's better if people engage us and actually, so we can see what measure of these allegations are they own up to or not own up to. But what was curious for me was that with the son, he received two amounts according to our records, the small amount and the big amount, the very big amount that's almost to 1 million. But he was very happy to acknowledge the small amount. Which is sad. We know a lot of artists that have been complaining to us over the past year. They've actually more been complaining about that 20,000, whilst there are bigger, fatter amounts,
600,000 involved.
Ms
Mapula, let's move on, because time is not on our side when it comes to the story. So we have two more stories to cover. So we only have 5 minutes roughly. So let's go through into the first one, which is not the end for Noah. So Noah is the actor from Scheme Sam, or the character from Scheme Sam. Why are they saying it's not the end for him?
Because it's trying to tease the readers that he's coming back, obviously, on the show. Scheme Sam is not only popular Kotefluop or Limpopo. It's very popular, and the fans are fanatical about it. So they were very heartbroken, and sometimes they even, when they don't like the fact that a character has been killed off, they even make petitions. So he just speaks to us, and also just shares, obviously, a bit of revealing about himself as Austin. But he's basically saying, watch this space. I will come back with an interesting other plot, which then the viewers will be looking out for.
Yeah. All right. So now let's move on to the last story of the day, which comes from the Speak Up on your platform. And basically, people are worried about the Easter weekend. So I'm going to give you roughly around 2 minutes to give us your thoughts around what do you think is going to happen this Easter weekend. Me, for one, I just hope that they don't lock us down again. So what are your thoughts?
We're hearing of this lockdown. Some of us are advocating for it. Many just feel that they're tired of lockdown. Remember, we a year in lockdown already. But they're worried about, obviously, arriving alive where they're going to be driving. Reckless driving. And I think one of the other factors that they readers also teased out this week was the fact that electricity and petrol the prices are getting higher and higher. And the fact that as consumers, they're more poorer due to COVID, but it seems all the government blunders and all the lack of planning end up being the ones that have to pay, dig deeper into their pockets for those. So those were the key issues that our readers were concerned about this week.
I was really concerned about the whole weekend. I mean, it's a religious weekend, so a lot of people want to go to their churches. A lot of people want to go to their families, go have Easter weekend. And it's a very long weekend. I mean, I heard some people have Monday and Friday off that weekend, so it's going to be a very interesting one. So, Ms Mapula, thank you for joining us on the week that was. Any thoughts before you want to go? Where can people find you on the socials also?
We are on www.dailysun.co.za. I'd like the readers to really go into their website. Very engaging conversations there and beautiful content there that will entertain and educate them.
All right, thank you so much. So that was Mapula Nkosi, the editor-in-chief from the Daily Sun, and this was the week that was. What an interesting week it's been. I mean, we've seen chickens, we've seen tokoloshis, we've seen all kinds of stories, but now it's back to the Super TV content that will be coming up after this. Don't forget, at 7 p.m., me and Obi will be handling everything that is football, which is basically international football at this point. From myself, all I gotta say is bye for now, but don't change the channel.
You're locked into Super TV, only on OpenView, channel 150.